Welcome back again, friends, to Tactical Enlightenment, where we continue to share our Freestyle Tactics series, demonstrating some of the more complex tactics that we've developed in our incredibly long and difficult campaign. Alright, friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. We continue to roam the map in our campaign here, and an XII force just took one of our cities. And even though I have a much smaller force, I was looking at the composition of my army, and it dawns on me that we have a perfect army set up here to do some major kiting. The XII typically have very powerful infantry. That means they're basically very susceptible to kiting. Kiting, of course, is where you move units back strategically while you pound them and open up essentially a kill box in the middle. And we're going to see if we can't pull that off today. So I've got my 8th Corps. Those are all elite knights. The 6th Corps will be very, very important for this. In fact, we're going to alter it a little bit. You can see I'm actually adding archers to my 6th Division. We've got a bunch of skirmishers in there and units that favor javelin-type weapons. So what I want to do here with the enemy is effectively lure in their main infantry body and then strategically retreat as we pull back. We're effectively going to create a kill box, an area in the center where they are being hit on multiple sides by projectile units. Our 4th is a crossbow unit, and our 1st is the infantry unit. Those are the primary units that are going to be involved. So the 1st, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th. My 2nd and 3rd are cav divisions, but I'll be using them mostly defensive in this battle. They will be effectively to screen the enemy, to absorb enemy arrow attacks, and then occasionally to counterattack. To counterattack this cav. So I'm looking over the composition of their army. They do have, as usual, the XII have 2 different cav divisions. They have a javelin cav division, and they have a horse archer cav division. And these we're going to want to counter early on before we start to deal with the rest of their force. I'll give you an overview of our battle screen setup here as the enemy gets a little bit closer. But effectively, what we want to do is create a hollow spot in the middle for the enemy infantry to come into and then get destroyed. And we'll do a little overhead shot for you here. In the center is my 1st infantry. Behind them is the 4th crossbowmen. A little bit offset behind them, that's the 5th archers. And then that big block of spread out units, that's the 6th. Those are skirmishers and archers mixed. Then on both sides, of course, you can see my cav divisions. Also, I should mention the 8th Corps is on the left there, directly in front of me here. So the 3rd Corps here is just the shield wall. Those guys are absorbing arrows and preventing cav from charging in and fucking up our skirmishers. Our 1st Division is mostly infantry, although a lot of those guys have javelins. My army composition right now, I have quite a few Battanian wildlings, and they have outstanding javelin skills. So we're just sparring right now with there's some 40-some horse archers here. These guys don't really represent a major threat to our army, both because of the side, but also because we have shield walls, right? They're just shooting at our shield wall, and so our guys are collecting arrows as a souvenir. Meanwhile, I can fly in here while they're distracted, rip off a few arms to remind them that they're in an actual battle and that limbs can be ripped off. Carving the enemy up. Anybody who wants to take a few shots, they pay the price. So I've got my 2nd cav here on our left flank, and I'm basically going to be using them to screen and or counterattack the enemy units. Okay, they're sending in their their javelin cavalry. These early infantry skirmishers, I don't really want to waste too much effort on them. My 6th is over here in a shield wall, and I've had them in a shield wall just because the enemy had horse archers. And now we're going to start the kiting process. I can see their infantry division in the middle there. It's almost 300 guys. In fact, it was more than 300 before they started getting close. You can see they've got their shields held up, right? Otherwise, they'd be obliterated by our arrows. But that is their weakness. They move slower, and because of that, we're going to take advantage of that. I'm dragging the skirmishers over here. I'm going to be doing a lot of movement in this battle, and I'll do my best to enumerate each specific move. But frankly, there's too many different moves to illustrate every single move. The biggest thing for you to understand is that I'm moving units away from their infantry. You can see my infantry is pretty close here. It's closer than I want, so I'm backing them off. Those guys, as they're retreating, I can see them throwing javelins right in the face of the enemy. The enemy veers towards my 6th, and so we're going to back those guys off as well. And now what we have is the enemy is starting to be surrounded. I'm just circling them here, firing javelins in there, killing a guy every other throw. You can see those guys are throwing javelins. I'm throwing a punch at them occasionally. We're moving our infantry back, and I'm not starting to get behind them now with the 6th skirmishers. Now I've got that 3rd Cav division over here protecting the 6th. That's vital because it's protecting them from archers, and of course it's protecting them from being charged by Cav. Now look at the death spam. The enemy is being eviscerated at this stage. Now I have crossbow on the enemy right flank. They're effectively surrounded here, and any unit that they try to attack, I simply move them back. The enemy at this stage is in a very bad space. I mean, their numbers are grievously reduced. Every single guy's got 4 javelins in his knee. There's still some horse archers here. It's kind of messy, this fuck with the flag. But you can see the enemy is just being assaulted with ranged weapons. It's 4 different units that are all attacking at the same time. Now, my units are being charged. I'm losing some units to their cav charges, but we have decimated their infantry division. Now it's time to finish it. So a little combined attack here. We're going to drive the 2nd, 3rd, and 8th Cavalry right up the enemy's ass, while the 1st, 4th, and 5th divisions, oh, and the 6th, might as well get them all of these units are told to charge, and they just swallow up this remaining 100 guys. You can just see nothing survives that. It's just heavy horse, elite skirmishers. There's like 4 guys here on the outskirts who haven't died. Let me get a kill in here too, fellas. And that was that. I don't know if their infantry even got a single kill. They basically got swallowed alive by that kiting killbox. Killbox, a military term that refers to attacking the enemy not on 2 sides or 3 sides, but all 4 sides, right? It's an extreme. Get the fuck out of my way. I've gotten a lot better at using my horse to jump over units after I kill them. Don't want to stop the momentum here as I mow down their retreating troops. Now these guys look like they're reforming, but they may turn and eventually shoot here, so we'll probably have to set up another assault here. So the killbox is a military strategy where you effectively attack the enemy on all 4 sides, and as effective as flanking the enemy is, obviously being attacked on all 4 sides is utterly devastating. You know, when you combine it with the kiting that we did there, and all 4 of those units had ranged weapons, I think the number was something like 70 or 80 infantry that were actually left when we had all our units charged. So it was just a shell of itself. It was a demoralized, destroyed unit. They were probably praying for death after being shot with so many arrows and a javelin in their back. And they're very well aware at that stage that their field commander doesn't subscribe to our channel. It's not much of a tactician. What is this fucking guy doing? You a deserter? Wish you could kill your own troops sometimes. Get up there with the rest of the archers. Alright, so the enemy seems intent on being slaughtered down to the last man, and we will be happy to apply that slaughter if necessary. They're surrounding our 3rd unit here and 8th unit with very weak cav. Of course, we destroyed a lot of their heavy cav. I'm going to chop through here axe-wise before we commence with the slaughter of their main force there. It looks like they've got about 550 guys in a big blob, just waiting to be surrounded. You've heard me say before, the war axiom, static troops are dead troops, and that very much applies here. They're just sitting there. They're shooting a little bit. They're shooting some arrows, but I've got 4 different units that are moving up in shield wall. Again, one of the things that's important to remember is that shield walls are amazingly effective against arrows, but the enemy doesn't do a very good job of using it. They'll use it directly in front of them, and occasionally they'll cover their side, but they're not very good at sort of all-around protection with their shield wall. Like a square is a little bit more effective. The enemy doesn't make square formations very often here. So I see archers in their mix, so we're going to aggressively push into this. I don't want them to spread out and really start flanking us with arrow fire. So we're going to make an aggressive attack here with our units. Of course, some of our units are injured at this stage, but it's not as bad as you might think because that first massacre was so flawless. So I'm moving up 4 different units in shield wall. The 3rd and 8th Corps I'm bringing over here to our right flank because I'm going to sweep them into the battle. Look how many shields, or look how many arrows those guys have in their shields, right? This is the advantage of shield wall cav. And my controls are a little bit foobar, so I'm going to actually have to drag this cav unit with me. I'm actually going to drag 4 or 5 units here into the heart of the enemy. We are firing arrows at them, of course, but they have their shields up. So we're going to move up its shield wall. I've got the 3rd and 8th cav with me on the right flank here, and we're going to envelop this much larger enemy force. Just because they're larger doesn't mean they can't be enveloped, right? So I'm dragging the 3rd and the 8th right up the enemy's flank, turning the fuck out of their flank, and then the other divisions. This is where an F1, F3 is totally appropriate. I got to get these crossbowmen sorted out a little bit. I think they got too tight a square, and in we come here with the destructive attack. The enemy's trying to stretch archers out, but again, at this stage, these are very low-level archers. These guys are just not a major threat. We'll get cav right in their face. And I'd be surprised if we lost more than 20 or 30 guys in this last attack. The enemy's actually starting to spread out and trying to regroup. That's not a good decision. They should have at least tried to attack, because then they would have gotten a few kills. By scattering around like that, they're going to get very few kills. I'm actually going to join my guys on foot here. I always like to kill a few people. It's like part of my daily bucket list. I got to kill some people with my axe, keep my skills up, work on those forearms, right? Chicks dig forearms. Mow down a few of these Aserai scum, kick a few, and call it a day. I think they're in full-out rout. I mean, they should have routed after that first destructive attack, but they seem to want a little bit more pain here. This guy with those little tiny scimitars blocking my 15-pound axe. I don't think so. Yeah, the enemy's in full-out rout. The 8th Corps at this stage. Look at how many arrows are in the shield of my cav, right? You can see that. Nice duck. He ducks to pick up a bolt. You can see the effectiveness of a shield wall. Yeah, they're on full-out rout mode now. So for those who are interested to learn more about the Killbox, I detail it in a 10-part series. In fact, we take you step by step with overhead diagrams and all kinds of details about killboxes. To me, it's one of the most effective, destructive tactics you can pull off in Bannerlord, and the results speak for itself, right? We lost 3 guys, and 12 guys got a scratch, right? We killed 1,000, and we lost 15, right? And only 3 of them died. So this is about as destructive and dominating a battle as you can win right here. So thanks again for watching, friends. There'll be more from Tactical Enlightenment. We're just getting warmed up here. Stay tuned for more. Please subscribe if you're interested. And I will see you, friends, next time.